This is a special introduction for the Invested Fathers podcast that I am thrilled to have you tune in for today. Listen, everyone, here's the truth. The impact that dads have on us and on this world is absolutely huge. We celebrated Father's Day on Sunday, and I trust that all you dads out there that are listening felt the love and appreciation from your families and close loved ones for what you do every day. Hey, I know we're not perfect, but we keep trying to do everything we can to be the best dad we can be. I posted on my social media for my friends to share what they love about their dads and to share some memorable stories that stood out about your dad. Allow me to read 4 of those before we dive into our show today. Carlton said, "My dad loves to help people. There were several times growing up that he took me with him to help others, fixing cars, moving something, or lending a hand." Thanks for sharing, Carlton. What an impact that made on you. It's cool that he would take his son with him to help people to do these things and how those memories have stood out to you. Love it. Andrew said, "My biological dad passed away 7 years ago, and I learned so much from him in regard to philosophy. It was a philosophy lesson every dinner. It was always why? Why did this happen? Why did this person do this? My father always taught me to think about the next move, like a chess player of what could potentially happen. It was always a mind-expanding experience with him." Thanks for sharing that, Andrew. Isn't it neat to see how fathers so clearly shape their kids' minds and how we think and how it affects what we do? Next, Carson said, "My dad is the most disciplined person I've ever met. He gets up at 6 a.m. every day, eats his breakfast, and is at work at 7 a.m. every single day. Nobody's a perfect person, but as you get older, you start to realize and understand the decisions that your parents made on a few things. And I think I will do something very similar because he did a fantastic job raising me and raising my sister." Appreciate those words of admiration about your dad, Carson. Our last dad shout out will be from Megan, who said, "My dad passed away before I was old enough to have memories of him. He passed at the age of 28, leaving my mom with 3 kids who are age 6 and under. It will be 37 years ago on Wednesday. And while I don't remember him, I can absolutely answer your question. What I love about my dad was how much he loved my mom and the 3 of us. I have had total strangers tell me about that very thing. And most importantly, I love that my dad loved Jesus, and he was pursuing Jesus for himself and for his family. He was a fairly young Christian when he died, but the way that changed his views on being a husband and a father was amazing. My mom told me multiple times that had my dad passed without knowing Christ, she would have very likely given up on God and on us. But God allowed my dad in those few years to leave a legacy and encourage my mom. This may not be what you were looking for at all, but that's what I love about my dad." Man, the legacy that Megan's father has left to her is priceless. And it's still impacting not just her, but her mom and her siblings today. Megan wasn't even old enough to have her own memories of him. How awesome is that? So that's what this show is all about. Invested fathers who are pouring their time, energy, and resources into people for lasting returns. So whatever you're doing right now, wherever you are, I hope this show will encourage you and motivate you as we explore dadhood and investing. Now sit back and enjoy episode 1 of The Invested Fathers. Are you a hardworking dad, juggling family responsibilities while dreaming of building wealth through real estate? Welcome to the Invested Fathers podcast, where we explore how to balance investing and fatherhood. I'm your host, Kenny Johnson, founder of East West Capital. Over the past 5 years, I've been buying real estate to free up my time and secure my family's future. Now I'm here to help you do the same. Join me as we navigate the real estate world together, building wealth and strengthening our families. As my grandma always said, East West, home's best. Welcome back, everyone, and thanks for joining the conversation today. Today's episode will be part 1 of my Origin Story series. I want to give you all the step-by-step of how I went from being a directionless college grad to a father of 2, pursuing real estate full-time and securing my family's future. Before I begin, I want to be transparent with you about my struggles and reservations on this topic. I've often thought, why would my listeners want to hear all the details and stories of my journey that reveal my ambitions, struggles, and mindsets in these pursuits that I have? They would be bored and not care. Well, I've realized one of the best ways that I can help more people is by creating a space through this podcast where my listeners can get to know me and resonate with where I'm coming from and understand me and the experiences that I face, because potentially they have faced the same things or something similar. So through this series, I'm hoping to attract my people and repel those that just don't see eye to eye with me. And I do believe that when that happens, I know that we can connect on a much deeper level faster, instead of me talking about strictly finances and real estate this and real estate that, where there are hundreds of other podcasts out there that are just focusing on those things. So I want my listeners to really know my core values and experiences that make up who I am. So without further ado, let's get started. What do you want to do with your life? I realize for many people out there, that question probably hasn't been asked very recently, because you've probably been doing the same job for the last 10 plus years and things are going pretty well for you. If you're a younger listener, you may hear that question of what do you want to do with your life? And you start feeling all the pressures of how much money you're hoping to make. What kind of lifestyle or comforts do you want to have for you and your family? And it's uncomfortable. Or perhaps you're in the boat where you feel happy or generally pleased doing what you're doing because you're great at your job and you're making great money. But maybe you prefer some more freedom to shift into pursuing a different, maybe dream job or something, some other aspiration to spend more time doing something else. Getting that freedom. You're maybe feeling strapped or stuck in this place where you were making changes like this that doesn't feel realistic or doable because of lack of time, energy, or money, or one of those things. So for the younger me, this question of what I was going to do with my life was a sucker punch right in the stomach, because I just didn't know. I was having a hard time figuring it out. And as I reflect on where I was in my mid-20s to where I am now in my mid-30s, I realized that my concerns and struggles came with what I was going to be doing rather than who I wanted to be. I kept getting hung up on the specific job or industry that answers this question posed, your passion. And even now, admit that investing in real estate has never been that end goal for me. It's been a perfect industry for me to grow in, however. And throughout this series, we will explore more in depth about this end goal and what that looks like for me, and expand that into more of just what my life's work would be, not just limited in my work job or vocation, but rather to my own, to my other roles in life. When I came out of college, had a bachelor's degree in graphic design, I had this idea of being a creative director for a marketing agency. That was kind of my intern job, was at a marketing agency locally here in South Carolina. And my goal at this point was to become the successful idea guy who just creatively solves marketing problems for struggling people and businesses. Hopefully one of the biggest takeaways that you'll get from this series is taking some time to look at yourself and dig deep into answering that question of what you want to do with your life. And it's kind of funny to look back to see where that goal, that answer was at different times of your life. Another version of that question could be, what are the characteristics that make up who you are? And we'll definitely dive deeper into the goal settings and existential life questions later. But I want to share a memory with you of a lunch I had with my boss going over my goals. And this is when I was 25, and I'd been working at a startup landscaping company for 2 years. A college friend had started his own business, and the numbers of what I needed to make to provide for, at that time, my fiance and I to live in this house that we were looking at buying, everything worked out right. So I am emptying myself into this job for a couple of years. And I sit down with him and I say, I want to make $100,000 a year. And I want to be in the sales or customer service or management roles where I'm not wearing my body down, and I don't want to work Saturdays, and we need to do whatever it takes to get this figured out. And, he kind of looks at me, kind of smiles, and, I think that's definitely doable in the next 5 years, we'll be there. And my mindset was never how long do I need to be working each day or week or, kind of strain to achieve this goal? Yeah, eventually I want to have life easy, but I just need to make this much money. And in time, I just figured things would get easier as I became more valuable to the company. I'd kind of have other people do the hard work for me, and I would just be doing the important, big client type of work. At that time, my marriage really wasn't that healthy. We were doing just fine, but I was always gone. Really, it felt like I was gone a lot, but that was normal. The other thing I think is really important to share is in light of the marriage and, child rearing, we found out that my son had a dairy allergy when he was 6 months old. And maybe for some out there, you're like, yeah, who cares? Whatever. Not a big deal. Maybe for some out there, you have some type of food allergy in your family or something that's a physical ailment. And that was a major shift for you guys. In fact, my wife has said many times, the idea of being a mom looked so different than what it was in reality because of this allergy. And our allergist at the time had basically said, hey, if he has a glass of milk, he could die. Anaphylaxis reaction, EpiPen. And unfortunately, regretfully, my mindset was this is not a big deal. My wife is struggling, but she just needs to kind of get over it. I didn't understand anything really in regards to what she was going through. So she felt very isolated and did not have a good support group at that time to help her through this. So our marriage struggled because of that. And it wasn't until I actually went with her to an appointment to sort of, disprove her worries. But the allergist, we did this prick test and skin, swelled up a little bit, a lot. And she basically was like, yeah, he can't have anything or else, he could definitely be in risk of dying. And maybe other allergists out there would not have said the same things, but being new parents to a 3-year-old, 4-year-old who's, beautiful baby boy, just really scary stuff to take that. So all that to say is my work life of being so engaged with where I was left my wife, and the support for her helping in this way was really not great at all. I also want to share the story of a time I went with a financial advisor to talk about my future and my future planning. And he looks at me basically and says, Kenny, you're giving up the prime years of your life, your 20s, your energy to this company. And I want to make sure that that's something that you feel is, what you want to be doing. I didn't understand what he was trying to say to me at the time. In fact, my reaction to him was very prideful and thinking to myself, he has no idea. So very foolishly, I dismissed a lot of his prodding and really just felt like I just need to keep my head down, work hard, and wait for that promotion to come, that shift. The day came when I finally decided I wanted to make a change in my career trajectory. And that day was when I turned 30 years old. And I said to myself, what is my life? What am I doing? And I needed help. The next episode will explore the decisions that I had to make and the actions that were required for me to change the situation I was in. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Invested Fathers podcast. If you liked this episode, we would love for you to click subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. We appreciate all of your hard work as a father and look forward to our next episode together.